Okay, now we have the answer for number, oh, it's not a number. We're just completing the square of this problem right here. Okay, we have the answer -5 plus or minus the square root of 29. Since this is not a perfect square, we're not going to simplify it any further. If we had had -5 plus or minus square root of 36, since this would be 6, we would do two answers. We'd have -5 plus 6, and we would have -5 minus 6. But if it can be simplified, you simplify it. This one cannot be simplified, so you leave it like this.
So that's your answer?
This is the answer for this problem. And since it's not a fraction, you don't need to plug it in to see if it'll work, you know, for two different things. It's okay, there's no fractions. That's actually, it looks like one answer, but it's two answers, because it's the plus and the minus. Okay, so let's do one together. We won't do one of the examples that shows you in the book. We'll do a different one. How about x squared plus 8x minus 20 equals 0. Okay, 20, you need to subtract to get 8. 1 times 20 won't subtract 1 and 20, 2 and 10. They do, huh? Darn, I wanted one where we completed the square. Okay, well that one's 2 and 10. So that one's too easy, huh? They subtract, you need a positive 8, so it's a positive 10, negative 2. Okay, so you have a negative 10 and a positive 2 as your answers. So let's pick one where we have to complete the square. I've got one right here. Sorry about that. We've got x squared minus 12x.
That's it for that problem?
Yes, I thought it was going to be a completing the square. But you just do the opposite of negative 2 is 2, opposite of positive 10 is 10. That's just where you factor it and set it each one equal to 0. Let's do one where we complete the square here. X squared minus 12x plus 23 equals 0. Okay, there's only one way to get 23 because it's a prime number. And 1 times 23 will not add. 1 and 23 don't add to give you 12. So we do have to complete the square. Okay, what you want to do to begin with, take this to the other side. So subtract 23 from both sides. When you write the next line, leave a space here for what you're going to add. And it will equal negative 23. Okay, remember what we said? We're going to take half of b, and then we're going to square it. That's what we're going to add to both sides. So b is 12, negative 12 actually, right? Our b is negative 12. Take half of that, take half of that and square it. Half of negative 12 is negative 6. When you square that, it's 36. We're going to add 36 to both sides. So we're going to put plus 36 here and plus 36 over here. So negative 23, positive 36. You're going to have the positive and then subtract them will be 13. This part we're going to go ahead and factor it. 36 is 6 times 6, which adds to give you 12. Remember, we need the negative. This right here is what it's going to end up having here, the negative 6 there. Okay, we have our negative 6 there. we're gonna rewrite it with x minus 6 squared equals 13. We need to square root both sides. Gets rid of our square. We have x minus 6 equals, remember to put the plus or minus, square root of 13. So we only have one more step. Take the negative 6, we need to put plus 6 on both sides. So x is going to equal positive 6 is 6 plus or minus square root of 13. That's not a perfect square, so that's as far as you have to go. Usually completing the square, we'll leave that square root on there, because if it would have factored, if it would have came out to whole numbers, you probably could have factored it into whole numbers. So most likely, you'll get in most of the time to leave that square root sign. We'll do one a little bit harder, where it ends up being a fraction, a square root over a fraction. Okay, in the margin on 679, there's a problem. 2x squared plus 3x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, 3 is 3 times 1. You can keep trying, and you're not going to be able to factor this one, okay? What we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to try to make it where it's just x squared. This 2, we want to get rid of it. You can't complete the square unless you have just the x squared, the perfect square there. So we're going to multiply by 1/2. Or divide by 2, however you want to say it. We'll take this side times 1/2, the other side times 1/2. So 1/2 times 2x squared is just x squared. 1/2 times 3 will be 3/2. 1/2 is multiplied by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. So 3 divided by 2. And then minus 3 divided by 2. On the other side, we have 0 times 1/2. Just 0, right? Okay. Now, the 3/2, we're not going to be able to factor that. Looking at that, you can see you can't do it, right? Okay, 3/2, we're going to have to add to the other side. Add 3/2 to both sides. So we have x squared plus 3/2 x, leave a space, equals 3/2. Okay, what are we going to add to both sides? Where the b is 3/2. The b we have to divide by 2 and then square it. Okay, 3/2 divided by 2, divide by 2 over 1. 3/2 divided by 2 is the same as 3/2 times 1/2. Remember, you multiply and flip this over. So we're going to have 3 over 4 for this part here. So 3/4 squared is what we're going to be adding to both sides. 3/4 times 3/4 is what? 3 times 3 is 9. Yeah, 9/16. So we're going to add 9/16 to both sides. So go back over here, add 9/16, add 9/16.